Randy, who's our internship coordinator, has put together this panel of students. We have Jay, we have Christine, we have Mark, we have Melissa, and we have John, who are at different levels in the program, from first semester to multiple years. Doctoral students and master students involved in this panel. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to share a little bit about their experiences in finding an internship and what kind of internship they have done, or internships in some cases they have done. And we'll let them each present here at the beginning, and then we'll have some questions and answers. I'll ask them some questions, and it'll be open for you guys to ask them the questions. Hopefully you will get ideas about internship experiences that you can have. So, having said that, let's begin maybe with Jay, and we'll just move this direction. So,
cool. Like you assumed. My internship is in the teacher ed department. I work with Dr. Pinniger. She's the primary investigator for a national professional development grant, and through that grant she provides coursework for both pre-service and in-service teachers so they can get their ESL endorsement. And it's from the grant itself, my job title says that I'm the data reports manager. Basically, I manage the research side of that grant. She has a program manager who runs the program, keeps the classes going, makes sure that there's instructors for all those courses. And then what I do is take all of the data that comes in from that, all of their surveys, their work samples, whatever it is that we think might help us better understand how well the program's doing and what the teachers are learning. I take that and figure out what types of projects we can do to more closely examine, more than anything, teacher growth is kind of what we like looking at. I've been doing this for the last 3 years with her, and one of the projects we worked on was with the faculty here on campus in the teacher ed department. After they did some professional development themselves, we went through and interviewed them and asked them about their experience in the professional development, what they had taken out of it, what they had learned, what they were going to implement, some of the changes they might make in their coursework. And then from that we did some qualitative analysis to decide if those teachers had something in common, and whether or not those things in common would help move them forward in their career, or if they would just stay the same. Right now we're working on another project where we've taken videotape data of teachers in their classrooms. They're already teaching, mostly elementary school teachers, and we've gone in and videotaped them teaching a lesson, and then looked to see if what they're doing is already meeting some of the requirements that the SIOP asked them to do. SIOP is the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol that was developed to try to help teachers better address the needs of English language learners. So we use that protocol to observe these teachers and see what it is they're already doing that meets the needs of English learners, and then to see where they're lacking so that we can try to support them better and help them with that. And just maybe something to throw out there. I completed a master's degree in teacher ed, and I felt like while doing the master's in teacher ed and while doing research at the same time, I learned almost more from doing the research myself and from the classes that taught me how to do it. I needed both in order to be successful, but in the classes they said, here's how you're going to do some of these things, and it made sense. I kind of got the idea, okay, I could see where that would work. And then working with Dr. Pinniger, she would say, well, we need to develop a project, good luck with that. And so I'd take some of the things I had learned and start trying to implement them, and I felt like I was really, really learning. So anybody who hasn't done internship yet, I think it's very beneficial to think about what it is you want to accomplish from the program, where you want to be 5 years from now, and then find an internship that'll help you practice those skills and put into practice some of the things that you're learning in your courses.
thanks. So this is great. This is an example of a research internship. Now, one thing I want to clarify, he said he's been doing this for 3 years. We do not want your internships to last 3 years. He's been doing this since before and is using it as a research internship now. Having read the document that I sent out as part of the pre-reading, how many hours approximately should you be scoping for a 3 credit hour internship experience?
150.
About 150 hours, yeah. So it's about, for 3 credit hours, you think six hours a week for every credit hour that you're taking. Or every 3 credit hours you're taking, sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
It's like 18
Yeah,
hours?
yeah, so it's essentially one credit, 1 hour in class, 2 hours out of class, so 3 hours for every credit, so.
Except you don't have class with an internship, so then it's 10 hours per week?
1 credit in, so it's about 9 hours a week, yeah. What did I say? Did I say 6? 6, yeah, 9. It's about 9. So about 10 hours for a 3 credit hour class is approximately how you scope it. Sometimes they go over though, we know. So, Christine.
Okay. This semester I'm doing an internship with BYU Online / independent study. But my first internship I did with Imagine Learning 2 years ago. And so I'll talk a little bit about both of them. So I did an internship with Imagine Learning before they have their structured internship program that they have now, and worked with Mark Liebman and Brett Elsinga doing a pilot program of a research grant that they had applied to IES, and before they got the grant they needed to try it out. So it was really interesting to try out something that they had just created on paper and then to actually enact it. But I have to say that doing an internship with Imagine Learning is great. They have a lot of now kind of established internship spots for research and evaluation and assessment in their company right now, and they're great to work with. They give you all the tools that you need. The school district that they were doing this grant with was in San Jose, California, so they actually flew me out to kind of meet with principals and teachers there, and I think all the interns that have done Imagine Learning have actually been able to go to the districts that they're doing research in, and so if you're interested in research, evaluation, assessment in any way, shape, or form, I think that I learned a lot, just having to solve problems, and like Jay said, just actually doing the kind of things that I did at the same time. I was taking the evaluation class and some statistics class, and I would learn something in class and be doing it the next week. So that was really good. And one of the classes that helped me for that the most was the spreadsheet ISIS class. But anyway. So that was a really good experience. And then I thought about doing another internship with them this summer, but realized, like Jay said, I kind of thought about all the experiences that I'd had, and this is my final year, and where I was kind of lacking, and I wanted some actual instructional design experience. And that's why I reached out to BYU Online. They are trying to design classes. Independent Study has been designing these kind of asynchronous standalone classes for a long time, and they do a really great job. And now they're kind of trying to switch them to be online classes that are synchronous and on campus and more interactive. And so I've been trying to kind of work, and actually right now I'm designing the class for both platforms, and it's really interesting. And same kind of things I'm learning in class, even in the Principles of Learning class, I had a problem I'd been mulling on, and we did a reading, and I thought there's my solution for it, and so I was able to enact it right away. So I think the internships are really great learning opportunities, and I was worried going into the program that they would be hard to find because I'm not very connected in this field, but have had 2 really great successful internships that have really enriched my time here. So I would second what Jay said, to really think about what it is you want to get out of an internship and use that as an opportunity to supplement something that you haven't been able to fit into your class schedule, or to have, our field is so broad that an internship really enriches your experiences in a way that maybe the classwork can't.
Great, thank you. Mark?
Okay, I did an internship at the Monte Alpine Life Science Museum, and I had been looking for an internship in a lot of different places, and this was the one that sort of opened up for me. Katie Knight, who is the museum education coordinator there, is in my ward, and I just mentioned to her that I was looking for an internship, and she created the opportunity. And so
she's a graduate from our program.
Yeah, she's a graduate from our program. And so she just created it and invited me to come and do an internship there, and so it just was really a blessing that happened. the museum is, it's been recently renovated, and so it's a really nice space now. And they just barely recently renovated the other side of it. That'll open again on November 23rd. But the museum has, in addition to the exhibits, it has really the lifeblood is the museum education, museum educators that are the BYU students that walk around and engage people and teach and conversations. So what I have been doing there is working with Katie to develop some of the content for some kiosks that they have set up there. Large screen touch screen kiosks that are going to have content related to the physical exhibits that they're next to, and also designing what they have called curiosity carts, which are just mobile carts with different rotating content from the museum that you can put out and engage people with. It's been a great experience. Let's see what else I'll say about it. It's definitely been related to a lot of the coursework that we've had, that I've had. I was in the authoring tools class with Peter over the summer, and we learned articulate storyline. And at the museum, they were looking for a solution to kind of improve a lot of the iPad and kiosk interactive content that they wanted. And so it was perfect timing to have been in that class and to be able to tell them about storyline and persuade them to start using it. And so that was really helpful. And the other thing that I've had experience with there is evaluation. So I worked with Katie and how she evaluates the museum educators and their performance. So it's been a great experience, and I think there'll be more opportunities at the Bean Museum in the future for other people that are interested. So.
Melissa. I'm at the CTL, Center for Teaching and Learning at the library. I found out about it on the IP&T Google community, actually, and applied, and I went, and they said, nope, you're not what we're looking for. And then a week later they called back and said, actually, we had your name, do you want this other thing? I said, sure. So it's actually my job as well as my internship, so it counts for both, which is very nice. And I get to work, with Learning Suite. I get to train people, professors, students, very interesting. And we're working on the BYU accreditation website right now, futuristic version of it, which is very fascinating to watch. I just sit there and take notes and do what they tell me to do. But it's very fun to watch and see people put into action all the things that we've been learning in our classes. Because I sit in classes and we learn something very theoretical. And I think, okay, how would this even apply in real life? And then I go to work and I sit down with my computer and I'm taking notes and I'm thinking, wow, they're throwing it back and forth all across the room and it's working, and it's so interesting to see it actually turn out. So that's kind of what we're doing. I'm helping with some research projects. Sort of a jack of all trades at the moment, but definitely recommend it if you possibly can. If you don't know where to go to find out about an internship, ask somebody that you're interested in working with, just like he did, or go to your job, see if they've got opportunities. It's kind of what I did, sort of. I don't know what else you want to say.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. John?
So I, last couple of years, I've been a curriculum writer for seminaries and institutes, and on the seminary team, writing manuals for the seminary team. And when I found out about the internship, there's an online seminary kind of division of the curriculum team, and I asked about whether or not I could do an internship there, and they said, sure, that'd be great. And so as things started moving forward, then they ended up moving me wholesale over to the online seminary team. So that's my full-time job now. And basically what we're doing is we're taking like the home study seminary manuals, or even the teacher's manual that seminary instructors used, or use, and adapting it to an online environment, which is really fun. To just, you know, and it's just the, you know, we aren't doing any research or evaluation. You know, that's not our role. We're just responsible for the content. But it's been neat to see, you know, starting to see theories come up and being able to overlay that over what I'm doing for my, you know, my career. You know, seeing a better way to approach learning, and also as part of my internship, I'm a part of a little committee. I think, okay, all I see is the first letter of each word. I think it's the LDS Instructional Design Learning Community. LDS IDLC, whatever, right? And so it's a committee where we're planning a convention for this next summer, and I think Dr. Gibbons was a keynote speaker there one year. But it's a committee where you have someone from BYU there, someone from BYU Idaho, someone from LDS BC, then you have people from the PSD, it's the Publishing Services Division, that's it. People from PSD that are on there, and then me from Seminary and Institutes, and it's just neat to, you know, kind of start getting into that networking, the LDS networking world, because as far as in seminaries and institutes is concerned, we aren't really, you know, the department isn't really a part of that world, you know, because I mean we're just kind of doing our own thing over here. So it's been neat for me to get my fingers out there a little bit and see what the LDS instructional design community is like. So it's been a rich and rewarding experience.
Thank you for those introductions to the internships that these 5 have done. What questions do you have for these panelists as you're thinking about your own future internship experiences? Bob?
Were they all paid internships? I'm curious.
Raise your hand if they're paid internships. Nice.
Is there such a thing as an unpaid internship, or should that be avoided?
Depends on the experience. Sometimes if it's a really great experience and what you're after, I would have done it unpaid I mean, if it's what you want, I think it's depends.
Sometimes the unpaid internships can be a stepping stone into a full-time job too. So you can't just push them off wholesale, the unpaid ones, but it is nice to be able to get both, right? Do any of the students out here, have any of you had experiences with doing an unpaid internship? Elena, you want to share a little bit about it?
Well, mine was more out of efficiency and necessity. I was asked to be a member of the state charter school board, and I didn't have time to do it unless it also counted for some schoolwork. So I said yes, and the caveat was it also counted as my internship. So I double dipped.
Great. All right. Great question, Bob. Other questions?
I guess my dad has talked to me about there are parts of each job that you enjoy and parts that make you want to gouge your eyes out with a spoon. What have been some of the things that you have most enjoyed, and what have been some of the things that you have least enjoyed? You can answer in
For me, one of the things that I've loved about the Bean Museum is that it's kind of been like a giant sandbox to just play in, and they've been really flexible to for letting me try different things out, work on sort of whatever I want to, and so I've really loved that. On the flip side, there hasn't been a lot of mentorship, and so in other internships, I know that there's really a more formal structure, and you receive a lot more close mentorship. So, two sides of the same coin, but one's really positive and the other's not so.
for mine, there's a lot of reading that goes into mine. On one hand, it's a really good thing to be able to get a feel for the field, you know, what people are saying, what's going on. On the other hand, after, you know, too many hours of staring at a research article, your eyes start to cross. So at the same time, the same thing is sort of the really good thing and the hardest thing for me to do. And while I'm thinking about it, on the topic of unpaid internships, I was talking to the person from Thanksgiving Point, and they said a lot of theirs are unpaid. So, and that's a really good place to be. It just depends. Sorry, off topic.
Okay. When I did my first internship with Imagine Learning, they didn't have the internship program that they had, and so it did feel like Mark said, a little bit unstructured, and so I didn't have a place at there, so I was doing it from home and doing it from here, and it was just kind of isolating, and so I didn't know if I was bothering them when they called questions and that kind of thing. And so finding out about the structure of an internship now, when I interview for jobs, I'm like, do I have a space here? What is the, you know, what should I do? And so just knowing how you work best. I mean, if you prefer to work independently and not be bothered, you can investigate that. For me, that was kind of a hard thing, but on the other hand, I also was able to kind of create things from scratch and really had to step up and do some projects that I might not have taken the initiative to do had there been somebody else to just do that. And I think being able to have the ability to go out and interact with the teachers in the district and things was really nice. And so if you're going to be doing remote kind of research and evaluation, it's nice to know if you're going to have access to the people that you'll be a face-to-face visit, because I was trying to do it by phone and through email and I just wasn't getting the response, and then we kind of talked about it and realized that the best thing would be to actually take a trip out and do a face-to-face visit. So that's
I'll go next. I think the thing that I've enjoyed the most is kind of the opportunities for growth. In the work I do, there are different positions, and like I said, I've been there for a while, so I started off just managing their data, and then eventually moved up to being in charge of all of the research. And at this point, being in charge of the research, it's been fun because they allowed me to hire a team of research assistants to help me get the work done. And like everybody said, kind of the good things are also the bad things. So it's a good thing. I really enjoy that I've moved to a point where now I'm in charge of a team of researchers, but I have no clue what I'm doing. So it's a little scary at the same time. I love being able to go into a meeting with my team and say, what's been done, report back, let's see where we are on this project. And then they report and they ask lots of questions, and being a novice researcher myself, I don't always have answers, and I have to tell them, I really don't know what to do next. Let me go ask Dr. Yanchar, because I'm in his classes right now, so I ask questions in class, and then I go back and report back to him and say, okay, here's what we do next. So it's been good and bad. I've really enjoyed being able to take somewhat of a leadership role and help other people learn how to do things, but my knowledge is so limited. I find myself stretched to the max all the time, and I'm constantly having to go find more information just to be able to help those that I'm responsible for.
Well, and the most rewarding for me, I mean, it's just interacting with the scriptures every day. but putting that aside, right? I mean, like because that doesn't really relate to what we're doing here. I think one of the more rewarding things about what I get to do is just the excitement of providing an opportunity for youth to participate in seminary that they might not otherwise have, or taking it. I mean, I'm not supposed to say this, but with home study seminary, online seminary is just such it's a superior product. It's a superior way to allow students to participate and interact. And
I'm telling him you said that.
Tweeting out right now. My phone's ringing. Is that bad? No. But that's been a neat thing to just see how students and teachers that are using online seminary, just how they're having a more effective experience with the scriptures, you know, and And plus the other thing too is we can get real-time feedback. You know, we can get instant measurements, and granted, you know, like I said earlier, we don't get to see that a lot. We just hear back from other people that are saying, hey, this is working great, this isn't working, and then we can instantly change it or adjust. And whereas with the home study manual, it's like, done, you know, deal with it, you know, this is what you get. Whereas we can adjust our content a little bit, and even our approach with some things.
I have a follow-up question about that. So what I'm hearing you say is that the online is superior. I don't know if you caught that, Scott.
Noted in the minute.
I recorded it.
And I wanna dig a little bit deeper on that to understand why. I'm hearing you say that partially because of the real-time feedback that you're getting. Can you say more about why? Is it the one-on-one?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah, for sure.
Can you say more?
So,
I'm just curious.
and I was telling
partially.
Melissa this earlier, but with home study seminary, students are with a workbook 4 days a week, going over, you know, 4 lessons, and then they meet together 1 day a week with a teacher and have a, you know, a seminary experience. Online seminary, they're required to get in that day and experience the lesson that day. And there's discussion boards, so there's interaction with students there, and teachers are interacting there as well with the discussion board. There are assignments that they do, and then they're sent immediately to a teacher, and then a teacher provides feedback to. So there's every day students are interacting with the content, with the teacher, with their classmates. Whereas, you know, and plus a teacher can even go in and see how long did a student spend on the lesson today. Whereas with home study, a student could wait until the day before. Did any of you do home study seminary? Okay, so maybe, I don't know, maybe this is your story, but
Yes.
they could wait until the day before and go through those lessons in, you know, 4 lessons in 20 minutes, and then turn in all their work that's okay to their teacher, and their teacher loves them, so they say, okay, great, check. You know, you did your work. And, you know, there's this disconnect. You know, students aren't engaging with the content every day, which is what we hope for. We want them to have a daily experience with the content.
So are you okay if I
So,
follow up?
I think this is a really great question,
Okay.
but is
Doesn't have
also
anything
kind
to
of
do with
Okay.
going away from the focus on internships. So
Okay.
I think it would be great for us. Last year we had a group from the online seminaries come and talk with us. I think that would be a great thing for us to try and do again, so that we can delve deeper in the content. But what I'm taking away from this related to internships is that John's had a great experience, kind of had his eyes open to some new possibilities that he didn't know a lot about before. And that's connecting well with the things that he's starting to learn here in the program. Did I see another hand? Yeah.
Yeah, not everyone has to answer, just whoever would like it. So one of my thoughts about internships and things is I want to avoid getting kind of, you know, being put in a place where it's not very like meaningful work, and I'm not really like if I'm just there like data entry or something like that. And it sounds like each of you have had a pretty meaningful experience. I'm just wondering, what did you have to, on your part, did you have to really make it clear what you wanted, or did they just give it to you? How did you make it a meaningful experience?
I'll take it. So, yeah, I wasn't actually hired to do the research. I was hired for data entry, but it seemed pointless. Not really completely pointless, but I felt like my part of the job was somewhat meaningless. And so I took the steps to push forward, and I said, if we're going to do this, why can't we then, here's what I learned in class, why can't we then do that? And they would say, well, that's so-and-so's responsibility. But if I have the data and I have the time, can I start doing it? And so I pushed harder. And that's how I got to where I am now, is because I saw that my responsibilities only went so far, but if I asked, they were willing to let me move a little bit further. And in doing so, I was able to move further down and do more important and more meaningful activities.
Anybody else want to address that? Or?
Like you said, it's really very much what you make of it.
Did any of you have challenges scoping your projects with the people that you were doing internships with? Because sometimes the people that provide internships, they know that they want somebody to help, but you know, they don't really care about the credits or the time. I mean, if they could have you 40 hours a week, Mark, you might have some experience with this at the Dean Museum. You know, if they could have you full time, they would have you there doing stuff for them full time, right? What kinds of things have you had to do to kind of help them understand the scope as you're negotiating or figuring out the internship?
With mine, it started this project probably a month later, so I started it fall semester, but it should have been organized prior. So mine kind of went in fits and spurts, where I had a lot of work to do right away because it was already kind of in motion, and then it would kind of, then we found out that in California the kids get like 3 weeks of break, and then none of the teachers wanted to do anything the week before because it was all parties, and so it's like it was really, really busy, and then it kind of died for a period in which I was, luckily that was during finals, so mine, I didn't have, it was hard to manage, and I found that I was too busy some weeks, and other weeks didn't have a lot because it met their business cycle and not the semester business cycle. And mine actually ended extending over, so I did second block of fall semester and then the winter semester. And so it didn't match up to the semesters, but Dr. Davies is fabulous to work with, and he helped me manage it, but it was painful at times because what their needs aren't regular and evenly distributed, and nobody's thinking, how can I make this work a semester timetable, and how can I make it only be this many hours this week? The work needed to be done, and so I just did it, and then it stopped for a while because of their needs, and so it was a little bit difficult to manage that way. Independent study in BYU Online has been different because it is a semester schedule, and so it's been easier. But if you're going to work for somebody else that's not associated with the university, I think you can kind of expect that their timing is not going to match your timing perfectly.
Anybody else?
The scope of mine was, it was really nice to negotiate that with Katie at the start, and she was flexible to do a shorter time with more hours or less hours and a longer time, and so that was really nice. And of course, it's always a challenge to only put in the time that you're getting paid for, and not half that and more after you're clocked out. But it was nice to be able to negotiate it at the beginning. She's really flexible.
It seems that Melissa, Jay, and John, since it's your job, you wouldn't really have the scope issue. Is that right? Because you were doing it for your job anyway, and so it's not like you had to negotiate how much you're going to work. But you two actually had internships, and you were paid, but it wasn't your job before and after. Is that right? My question, I guess, specifically for Christine and Mark, in terms of hours for your internships, did you find yourself spending more than the required, or about?
I felt like mine was more just because it was a semester and a half, and it involved, I mean, how would I account for the time that I spent 3 days down in California? I mean, like those 3 24-hour days, but they were time away from school, and so because it was longer, I think I spent more hours. But I mean, it was really enjoyable. I mean, I learned, I did it again.
I spent more, but that's just my nature to want to try to, create a really good product.
All right. We have time for maybe one more question from the students. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to ask I'm going to actually turn the tables a little bit on the faculty. I'd like the faculty to briefly just say some things that they've seen that have made good internship experiences and things that people should avoid. If you have something that you can share with that, and while the other faculty are thinking, I'm going to say one thing. one of the things that I love about these is they are connected to things that they want to do career-wise. I think a thing that we have to be careful of also is, I really like what Christine said. She said, I was purposeful about the internships that I selected. And sometimes you can select internships that are just the most convenient for you. And sometimes you have to do that. I know, especially with people who are working full-time. But the purpose of the internship is to give you a breadth of experience. And so we would hope that you would use that opportunity, even if you're working within, for example, John has done one internship now with his, in seminaries and institutes. If he ends up doing another internship with seminary and institutes, we hope it wouldn't be something just the same that he's doing right now, right? That he picks an experience within there and use that to push himself forward within the organization to say, I really need some experience on the research side. I haven't seen what's been happening behind the curtain. Can I have an internship that's involved with that? Or can I have an internship that deals with evaluation? So that it's meeting the purpose of the internship, which is to give you real life experience, but also to broaden you out and give you something more than what you had before. So that's kind of my advice. Peter, do you have anything that you
Start
said?
at the back of the room. No, I would say one of the things is, they mentioned it up here in terms of establishing expectations in the mentoring, especially, because the different types of internships is, am I going to work alongside somebody who's doing this and get that mentoring, or am I looked at as the expert? Right now I'm the client, or the internship sponsor for someone in a graphic design program, is we want them working with us, but we're like, you're the graphic designer on the project, so he's not getting any mentoring from us at all. So I think that's really important, is to go in with the understanding of that mentorship relationship going into it. Like, this is going to be sort of an experience / portfolio resume builder, or I'm going to go in and I'm going to work with somebody. Make sure that is clear up front, because otherwise I think that's where a lot of the dissatisfaction can come from, is when those expectations don't meet
Don't match up.
I think Christine's got something to say.
Oh, yeah, so when I did Imagine Learning, they didn't have the program they do now to do mentoring, but I talked to Dr. Davies and he provided me the mentoring. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, which is that they could assign me things to do, and then I would go to Dr. Davies and he would help me do it. And so I established that prior to accepting it, because I kind of looked at the scope and thought, I can do this and this, but I'm unsure about these. And so I said to Dr. Davies, will you mentor me? Will you do this? And he said he would. And so that's what made that possible and successful. Without his mentorship, it would not have been as successful as it was. And so maybe you have an internship that's perfect, you can go find a mentor. They don't have to be the same thing. So you can have an internship employer and then a mentor somewhere else.
It's actually, that's a good, piece of advice. Like with this one, I said, we're expecting to be the expert. I did ask a graphic design professor if he would be willing to spend an hour or two a week with this person, because we're just going to be like, hey, that looks great. So,
Andy.
In the 655 course this semester, we're designing an interface for matching an instructor who has an opportunity to offer and a student who's looking for something, matching them and allowing them to form some kind of a structured agreement. So Sue Gong is in the class, Dave Chapman's in the class, and McKay, who's not here, McKay. No, other McKay, McKay too. So anyway, talk to Sue about it, and she'll kind of describe to you what we're doing. And, it's a concept that is really needed, because there's so many opportunities and it's so easy for a mismatch of expectations to cause a bad experience.
Royce, do you have any thoughts?
I don't. I'm going to plead the new faculty status.
Okay. Steve, do you have anything you want to add to this?
You guys have covered a lot of ground. I think I totally agree with Dr. Graham's claim that don't just take the easy, convenient internship, because it's like what you're already doing. You might as well get 2 birds with 1 stone, that sort of thing. There's a lot of great opportunities around Utah Valley and also this campus. Try to expand yourself and your horizons and learn while you can, while you have this nice, really supportive environment to do it. It's a great opportunity for people to learn and grow. A lot of people end up getting jobs out of their internships also on the other side. It's a really great part of our program. Very valuable.
All right, thank you. Let's give our panelists a hand.